Welcome, viewers, to Legal Basics with Siren Law Global, and my name is Tian. We're still on the Children's Law series, and today we are going to discuss the topic of guardianship, which a lot of us have trouble understanding and distinguishing with the concept of adoption. With us today is our child law expert. I will let her introduce herself.
My name is Leah Kigwatha, and I'm an advocate. I run a law firm here in Nairobi called Kigwatha and Company Advocates.
Haribo.
Nothing fancy like Cyril or Global.
She's also a teacher.
So good.
She
I'm trying
teaches,
to rethink.
she teaches in places that I want to teach. So
Oh, there you go.
it's pretty fancy. So, Walimu, please explain to us, what is guardianship?
Now, guardianship of children is the legal process of acquiring parental rights and responsibilities over a child without terminating the rights and responsibilities and the legal relationship with the biological parent.
Okay.
So you get parental rights and responsibilities, but you don't terminate the rights and responsibilities of the biological parent. So those still remain, and you share them with their biological parent.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in many school documents, you will find there's a place for parent stroke guardian. And for the longest time, it's just assumed that it is the person that lives with the child. But maybe it would be good to explain to the viewer what amounts to a legal guardianship.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yes, when you live with a child, you're sort of their guardian, but you may not have legal guardianship. So which means that, there may be certain situations where there are certain things you may not be able to do. So for example, if you live with a child and you want to put them on your medical cover and you don't have legal guardianship or you've not adopted them, then the insurance company will not extend the medical cover to that child. So when we use guardianship in everyday conversation, guardian,
Yeah.
in everyday conversations, what we mean is you're taking care of the child. But from a legal perspective, you'd have to go through a legal process to be able to call yourself the legal guardian of the child.
Okay.
Yeah.
So before we go through what that legal process is, I would just probably, it would be nice to paint a picture for the viewer as to what situations would call for a guardianship.
Legal guardianship.
Yes.
So usually people do legal guardianship when, for example, you want to be able to extend certain benefits to the child, and those can be extended without an adoption, but you're not trying to lock the biological parent, out of the child's life or to terminate their rights. So maybe you're living with a nephew or a niece, and you need to, when they get unwell, you don't want to call their mother, their father in up country, for example, in another part of Kenya or another part of town, to ask them for money. You can extend your medical cover to them. Then you need to do legal guardianship. Some employers are happy to even extend certain benefits to your child. If you have one of those jobs where school fees is paid, for example, and you're not on that child's birth certificate, you might have to do a legal guardianship to be able to extend those benefits. So that's usually when legal guardianship arises. If you want to do temporary travel outside of the country, you're going for a trip and you want to go with a child, you are not their biological parent, so you're not on their birth certificate, you might need to do legal guardianship because you're not trying to terminate their biological parents' rights. You just need temporary rights to be able to travel with a child.
Okay.
Another situation that it arises, and that's very important, is if you're a single parent and maybe the biological parent of the child doesn't have a relationship with the child, they've never been in the life of the child. It's very important that either in your will you appoint a guardian, so that, or that if you are so for example, if you have your sibling is a single parent and they pass on, you need legal guardianship to have any legal rights to their child that maybe you've been living with or you've been raising or that you have now been left to raise. So the thing with legal guardianship is that it expires at the age of 18. So the child does not have a right to inherit from you. They don't have legal claims over you after the age of 18. And so, it's just responsibility until the age of 18. Although the new act does allow you to come before the child turns 18 and ask the court to extend it, maybe to the age of 24. Maybe your employer will pay for their college if that guardianship is extended.
Okay.
Another thing about guardianship is that you can apply to terminate it.
Oh.
You can apply to terminate, and even the child can come. The child can be 15, 16.
I don't want this
and
guardian.
They don't want the guardianship, and they can come to ask the court to terminate the guardianship. So it gives you legal rights and responsibilities around a child, but it expires at 18 unless extended. And also, you can ask to terminate. It can be temporary. You can ask to terminate it, or you can, or the child can ask to terminate it. Then you can also be a legal guardian of just the property of the child, not the
child,
and not the person of the child. Yeah. So it's possible to say, I'm the legal guardian for this money that their parents left them. Ordinarily, people usually ask to be legal guardians for both, for the child as well as the property of the child, ordinarily.
Okay.
But it is possible to appoint, even, for example, in your will, one person will be the legal guardian of the child, they'll live with the child, but the property of the child will be managed, that you may be leaving behind.
By another guardian.
Managed by somebody else who is the guardian of the property of the child.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, for viewers who, from the situations you've been able to paint, they see a need to get legal guardianship. Where do they start? Which court? What do they apply? What do they say in this application? Yeah.
Now, it's hard not to compare legal guardianship with adoption, because I think, there are two ways in which court processes secure children in families.
Yes.
So unlike adoption, you don't have to have prior approval.
Okay.
To go for the guardianship.
No agency.
No agency.
No vetting.
No vetting prior. You just approach the court. The court may decide to say, let's have the children's office write a report or do a home visit. The court can decide that. But in the act, there are no prior investigations that are required. So if you decide you want to get guardianship of a child, you talk to your lawyer, and you can immediately make the application to the court.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are the timelines, roughly? What are the timelines for getting a legal guardianship as opposed to an
know how lawyers hate that.
I know.
Legal timeline question. How long will it take? It depends. Depends on the availability of court of court dates. It depends on where you're filing.
But if everything goes
smoothly, I would say give it maybe 8 to 12 weeks. If you're lucky, you could be done if court dates are available. And I'm purely speaking from the perspective of the children's court at Nairobi.
Yes.
Please don't attack your lawyer if you have filed in Moyale and it's taken longer.
Yeah.
Upcountry, maybe, I think upcountry courts, it may take a shorter time. But it doesn't take. It's not
as long as an
adoption. Number one, and number two, you don't file in the High Court.
Okay.
You file in the Children's Court.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, for adoption, there was a set of qualifications for a person who can be an adoptive parent. Do we have the same for guardianship?
You have the limit of 65 years, and then you also have you need to be Kenyan.
Okay.
Yes. People used to be able to do guardianships if they were foreigners, but now the law has changed and said you have to be Kenyan.
Okay.
So only Kenyans can do guardianship now.
No foreigners.
Yeah.
Okay.
All
right.
And then also, if you want to travel with the child, you have to ask the court specifically
for orders, for permission to
travel outside of the country of the child, because a guardianship does not give you a right to immigrate with a child.
Okay.
The same way that an adoption would do.
Okay.
So you'd have to ask for specific rights to be able to travel with the child.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, in a situation where the biological parents are present, and then the guardian, who is a legal guardian, who's already gone through the court process, and they're a legal guardian, are present as well. is there a possibility of clashing responsibility? For instance, where a child's fees has not been paid, and the guardian said, "But you should pay. It's your child," and the parent says, "No, but you're the legal guardian." Is there a situation where there would be a clash of parental responsibility?
Yes, and you can go to court because you both have legal responsibilities over this child. You can go to court and ask, and one of you can try and enforce the rights of the child, school fees, food, clothing, shelter. Yes, you can actually go, and the court will say you're both guardians of the child. You both have parental responsibility, and since you can't agree, the court will make a determination as to how those will be, split. Now, I forgot to say earlier that also a parent of the child can come and apply for the termination of the guardianship. So they can also decide, well, if you're not paying school fees, what are you?
Why are you the guardian?
If you're not, or if you're not
Just
helping
come away.
you're breaking your promise, so they can come and apply for also for the guardianship to be terminated. But as long as the guardianship is in place, it's possible for a court to make a decision as to who
on parental
responsibility, how it will be split between the guardians.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then is there a situation where when there's a guardian and then there's no parent, the parent cannot be traced? Are there such situations?
Yes, that happens, and the child may be in need of care and protection, and maybe somebody doesn't really want to go the adoption way. Maybe they're keeping it open. Maybe it's your sister, your cousin. She left. You don't know whether she's in Qatar or she's in Australia.
Yeah.
And then you decide to go ahead and apply for guardianship so that you have certain rights and responsibilities with regards to the child. It's possible.
Okay.
Yeah, even children from children's homes sometimes end up in guardianship situations. Yeah, so for example, where an adoption is not possible, maybe the child is not free for adoption.
Yes.
But they still need parental care. Then
you can go the guardianship way. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe to wrap it up, I would like to maybe distinguish the difference between guardianship and foster parenting. Yeah.
Okay. So foster care is an arrangement that you make between the children's office, or as the Act says, the Secretary for Children's Services, and a children's home where the child is. Foster care those arrangements are made through the children's office and the children's home, and then it's temporary. It's for 1 year, and then a maximum of 3 years. Except that now the Act allows you, after you've had foster care for a child, to apply to adopt them.
Okay.
So with foster care, there's no court process.
Okay.
It's between the children's home and the children's office and the foster parent. But it's also a good way of giving a child a family setting. Remember, the principle is it's best for children to grow up in families.
Yes.
So it gives the children a family setting. Actually, the person you are required to protect the rights of the child, but there is no obligation, for example, to provide for the child. Of course, you can provide for the child, and you do provide for the child, but the obligation remains with the person who has the legal responsibility, which is usually the children's home. But you continue to protect the child. So, and you undertake, to take care of them. So that's foster care. With foster care, there is no court process. With guardianship, there is a court process, and it's a longer term arrangement for the care of the child as compared to foster care.
All right.
Yeah.
So that brings us to the end of this very short episode. I know viewers will have questions. So when they want to contact you, how can they find you?
Look us up online. Our website is kigwathalegal.com. We are also on LinkedIn as Kigwatha and Company Advocates, and on Facebook as Kigwatha Legal.
Yeah.
Look us up and let's talk more.
Yes, and we will display your contact on the screen. And before we wrap today's episode, we would like to say thank you to the Cradle Foundation for facilitating the shooting of this series, and to Mushiri Friends, who are our videography crew. And if you have any questions for us, please write to us at info@smlawafrica.com. That is info@smlawafrica.com. You can also write to us through our old Gmail address, that is cyrillowglobal@gmail.com. I hope that you have learned a lot. Please share these clips with people that will want to apply this information, and take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.